millennial Gen Z, a lot of the way that you discover things about sex and sexuality is through the internet.
Yeah.
And that's such an interesting new thing. How does that change your relationship to sexuality when so much of your formative experiences with it are through a screen? It's
Often
weird.
before you've ever had any of your own experiences.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm your daddy.
I can be smart when it's important.
I'm your daddy. I'm
Sorry to this
I'm your
man.
daddy.
Welcome to Daddy Dailies, a podcast hosted by Not Your Daddy's Films. On a film set, dailies are sent out after a shoot day so you can see the work in progress. Daddy Dailies are conversations that go behind the scenes so you can see what work went into the process and be better armed to succeed in the industry. Daddy Dailies, hosted by Not Your Daddy's Films.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Daddy Dailies. I'm Vika Stolbein, your host for today and one of the co-founders of Not Your Daddy's Films. I am here today with Katarina Zhu. Kat graduated from NYU's Tisch School of the Arts with a BFA in acting. She spent her primary years focused on acting training before pivoting to academic semesters to further explore her interest in film and creative writing. After graduating, she fostered these interests by making her own short films. Most recently, she was selected as an inaugural fellow of the Women in Film Shorts Lab, supported by Google, which is really fucking cool. Congratulations. Her short premiered at the 2022 New Hampshire Film Festival. As a filmmaker, her work is mainly concerned with loss, love, and the haunting that is inevitably born of both experiences. As a second-generation Chinese American, she is always looking at these themes through the lens of someone whose identity and belief systems are rooted in two often conflicting cultures. Kat starred in, wrote, and directed her debut feature film, Bunnylovr, which premiered at Sundance last year. It follows a cam girl as she navigates a toxic client relationship while reconnecting with her estranged dying father, exploring complex relationships and family dynamics. Utopia picked up the film, and you can all see it on April 10th. So I hope that you listen to this after you watch the film and join the conversation. Kat, welcome to Daddy Dailies.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy to have you. You had your LA premiere on Wednesday night.
Yes.
And how was that?
It was amazing. It was really, really special. I feel like there were so many old friends and new friends, and I feel like it was honestly just chill, which was amazing. Like, I feel like, as you said, the film premiered at Sundance in 2025, and this is my first feature, and it was my first time at a film festival, and it was really amazing. And it's obviously, like, I would not have had it any other way, but it was a really intense experience.
Yeah, like,
and it was
overwhelming.
very overwhelming. It's a really, like, it's a big festival. And so I remember the day of the Sundance premiere, it was like I woke up at like 5 a.m., got glam, like pressed back to back to back to back, and then got glam the second time for the premiere, and then went from the premiere to that, whatever. It was a really intense experience. And so I feel like, I guess, like over a year later, getting to share the film with a wider audience, but specifically, on Wednesday night, having the premiere with some of my like dearest friends, and it was just really, really special. And Emma Seligman moderated, and
hell yeah.
It was like such a they're like such a great moderator. They're just so smart and ask the best questions, and it felt really special.
Yeah. And so you had Emma and Rachel and like all your friends who you've collaborated with and like went to school with, spent time in New York City with. Like, what a special experience to get to celebrate together too. That's the best part, honestly, is like the collaboration, I think.
Oh my God. Yeah, for sure. It was Emma brought up in the Q&A this like web series that Rachel and I that like made in sophomore year of NYU, and then our other friend Ari, who was there, who we all met in acting school, and I think that was like the first time that we all were sort of making our own work together.
Yes.
But we had like commissioned these writers to write like a web series.
Wait,
and
that's cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's so fun. It's like completely scrubbed from
the internet. Totally.
I think like early on, Rachel was very much like the way that you make things happen is you create opportunities for yourself, and you make your own work, and you put yourself in the roles that you want to be in. You know,
Yeah.
if you want to act in something, then make something for yourself to act in, and
Don't like wait for someone else to cast you or
exactly. And it
Yeah.
was really amazing. I guess at that time there had been sort of like Broad City. That was sort of like
Yeah.
the pipeline. It was like web series to pilot or whatever. Like
Yeah,
you
we
know,
all wanted to be Issa Rae and you know
exactly.
Broad City, and I did the same thing. I made a web series with my best friend the year we graduated college because none of us had like real jobs yet. We were all
Totally.
working minimum wage. Like I was working the front desk at Equinox, and
Of course, yeah. Just like Broad City,
yes,
you're literally,
exactly.
yeah. I'm like, do people still make web series? I feel like the thing to do now is like maybe make TikTok, like
TikTok
short
series.
TikTok series, or
So I have friends who actually also had they've made 2 feature films, but
yeah,
they do like kind of a mumblecore like comedy thing, and they were like, let's just make a lo-fi Instagram TikTok series because
right,
it's fun.
right,
And it's really taken me back to the time of doing that ourselves because when I started that, I went to school I went for musical theater, but
oh cool,
I didn't know shit about cameras. My DP was like, "How do you want this framed?" And I was like, I want
I
a
want to be
two
able to see myself,
shot and a single."
yeah, totally, totally,
And of course, like over time, I learned so much because I like fell in love with film. But at the time, I was like, I don't know, like, and so I think it's really brought me back to that sort of grassroots, like all of our friends making something fun together and seeing what happens.
yeah. I mean, I feel like that's the dream. Oh, is just to like make things with your friends, and then
Yeah.
eventually, hopefully, you get more money to do it, and you can,
Yes.
you know, it
Yeah.
can be like a full-time thing.
The filmmaking is so fluid and confident, and there's like a jealousy that is not real jealousy. It's sort of like, oh, like I love it so much, like I wish I like was there, you know, or part of
Yeah.
it. And I think it just really a testament to your point of view and the team that you assembled. So congratulations, because it's really beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Of course. And there's a simplicity that's really powerful. Like I think that a lot of early filmmakers um over explain to the audience and don't necessarily trust that their vision might be coming across.
Yeah.
So you're in front of the camera, you're producing, you're directing. How did you set yourself up for success? Like literally on set, being like, okay, I'm in most frames of this film.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I really credit one of my I mean, everybody who works on film. I credit everybody who works on the film.
Of course. Yeah.
But also one of my producers, Ani Schrader, our first meeting, she was like, my goal is for you to be able to step on set and only think about acting. Like I want everything else to be so buttoned up that and so prepped that
Yep.
you are able to just slip into acting mode and you're not worrying about anything else. Obviously, we get to set and I'm like, that's not, you know, it's
yeah,
like
it's hard.
like the bunny's like peeing on the laptop. I'm like figuring out how to like whatever,
Yeah.
all chaos, but she really created like an environment where I was able to really focus on the performance.
Yeah.
And I also think like as having made like a couple shorts and directed and
Yeah.
acted in them before, I think the thing that I was so afraid of in making those shorts was that the directing would sort of fall to the or like that the directing would be lacking because I went to NYU and I trained as an actor, and so I felt like that came more naturally to me, or that's what I was trained in, and so I felt like I had more to prove as a director.
Yeah.
And so I let the acting sort of fall to the wayside. And so for this, I wanted to be able to really do both and like have both be done, or like do both to the best of my ability. It's all to say, I worked with an acting coach in the weeks leading up to the shoot.
Yeah.
Ted Slippersky, who's really amazing, and he taught at NYU, or he taught at Stone Street through NYU.
You were really prepared.
I was really prepared going in, and I think it's like it's such a personal story. I feel like it was just like all really like in my bones, and then also like having a crew around you, like having Daisy, my DP. I feel like I really could not have done it with anyone other than her. She just is so and she's a director too, and so
cool.
that always really helps when you're like a director actor and you have a DP who's a DP director, and
Yeah.
they are really able to be your eyes and ears and step in when you need, like, there are times where she was totally directing me, like
Yeah.
there's a scene with the main character Rebecca and her dad, and
Yeah.
it's sort of emotional, and she was really so helpful during that scene, and we didn't end up using more like one of the more emotional takes, but it was so like I cannot wait for her to direct her first feature, and I
Yeah.
hope that there's a role for me in it,
Yes.
because she's just such an amazing, she's so talented. But
Yeah.
anyway, so yeah, having like a team around you, it's
And the trust.
yeah, the trust. It's like, and also most of the department heads were like younger Asian American women, and I think it just fostered this environment on set where I felt so safe and held, and like felt
Yeah.
really like I could go to places the places that I needed to go to,
Yeah.
which were like quite vulnerable, because of the environment on set. And
Yeah, I noticed how many women were a part of the film, and it just made me so happy. Like, I think, look, I love people of all genders, but I do think that when women come together as this collective, it's just
it's better.
special.
It's better. No, I felt like a really supportive environment.
Yeah, I love that. And like logistically, were you like, I have a stand-in and I'm gonna look at the frame, or I'm gonna, or like everything was talked about beforehand so that you didn't have to like step in and out?
Yes, and one of the visual references, like one of the
Mhm.
DPs that we were referencing was like, or two DPs that we referenced were Helene Luvar and Robbie Ryan. And like Robbie Ryan, I feel like we were referencing his more sort of like doc style,
Yeah.
handheld, like moving around the room.
Totally.
Daisy shot on a Sony Venice,
Mhm.
and it just, she was able to move with it. It was like
Yeah.
on her back, and she
Yeah.
was able to like move with it. Really, she was able to like follow the
Yeah.
actors and me and move really like fluidly around set. And so I feel like at times, of course, there were like, we really thoroughly shortlisted, but I do think a lot of it was also, we allowed for a lot of sort of like fluidity
Mhm.
with like
The
Daisy was
frame.
sort of just, I just
Yeah.
really trusted Daisy to find
Yeah.
the frame.
Well, I think the first thing I noticed, one, I love thinking about opening images and closing images of films, because I don't know if you've heard of Michael Arndt, but he's a Pixar writer and he has these YouTube videos, and one that like I've come back to about endings and how people always remember an ending of a film. Yes.
Totally.
And the opening image and everything like that, it sticks with you. But outside of those images, what I really noticed was how the camera movement it's catching you in almost this documentary style, you and all the actors in the film, but it doesn't, you're not necessarily centered in the frame, and you might go in and out of the frame, and it really feels like you're embedded in Rebecca's life. I think because of that, because you're seeing sort of the underside of things too, like your back, we're not even on your eyes or
Totally.
something on certain places. And I think that is what plays into like the trust and the simplicity and the fluidity that I felt watching it. And
Yeah.
it was really cool. So I'm glad you already brought up the references, because I was like, oh, I wonder what she was watching where she was like, that's the vibe. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like totally everything that you said, I feel like we really wanted it to feel what you said, like you were embedded in her life, and that it felt very intimate, and
Yes.
it felt
Yeah.
like naturalistic. I feel like my favorite movies are movies that feel like they're basically just docs. Like,
yeah.
Like I really love a doc narrative hybrid sort of movie. Like, this is not that necessarily, but American Honey, like
Yeah,
Andrew
it's so
Arnold, like
beautiful,
is so, I could watch that
It's
movie.
poetry.
Yeah, exactly. And it feels like, and I know that they were sort of just like shooting and all the time and whatever. But yeah, Daisy and I talked about how we really wanted it to feel very intimate, and I think our main reference for movement and framing was Helene Luvar, and specifically her, like the movies that she has made with Eliza Hittman. Like, It Felt Like Love is, the way that the bodies are filmed in that movie is so intimate and raw, and there's so much like texture, or I don't
Yeah.
know, it just feels really
Real.
yeah, it feels really real.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because I think that intimacy on screen can really run the gamut, just like any other kind of, emotional scene. And I find myself gravitating towards things that feel like real life. Like there are these really glossy, like if you think of a 90s rom-com, which is my favorite genre, but
Totally.
it's also like, it's so perfect, the way the bodies are lying, moving together, whatever.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. It's like Barbie and Kendall. It's like
Mm-hmm.
these people don't have bodily functions. It's like they don't nothing ever like secretes from their
No,
bodies.
they don't
It's like
fart. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, exactly. I feel like if we do see it, it's in
Yeah.
like a Cronenberg film
Yep.
and heads are exploding and
Yeah.
eyeballs are like
It goes to
melting
the
out of your head.
grotesque. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it's always nice to see sort of the more like gross mundane
Mm-hmm.
things of daily life in a film that isn't like body horror.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally agree. In tracking Rebecca's arc, which I've also done the thing of in a short where like I've been in front of the camera and behind the camera, and I think what I really resonated what you were saying about wanting to do both the directing and acting at the best of your abilities. So oftentimes you're not able to shoot chronologically. I'm assuming you probably weren't necessarily able to do that on this film.
No, yeah, we tried as much as possible, but no.
Yeah. So how did were you before you went into a scene being like, okay, this is where I'm at in the film and this is her emotional arc and yeah.
Totally. Yeah, I had these sort of like one pagers for every scene
Oh,
of
cool.
acting notes for myself and then
Yeah.
directing notes for the other actors about performance. And
Mm.
it it I think I had like where I was coming from, where I was going after that,
That's cool.
and where I and like yeah, what sort of maybe it wasn't exactly this, but similar like on a
Mm-hmm.
scale of 1 to 10 like where I sort of was
Yeah.
in terms of my emotion
Yeah.
you know.
And like your expectations, like your character expectations, because you know what's gonna happen next,
Exactly.
as yourself. But
Yes.
I think that's always helpful, like for anybody listening, as an actor or a writer, like what is the character expecting the scene to be and how does it change?
I
Yeah.
mean, that's great. I wish I had added that. But it's so funny too because I feel like I forgot. You just forget all the work that
Yeah.
you just sort of like black it out. You're
Yeah.
like, oh, I just sort of showed up and other people, like
Yeah.
I did things and other people did things. But no, there was actually, yeah, like I remember those one pagers were really a like my sort of Bible.
Yeah, I love that.
And yeah.
Yeah. When you're talking about working with Daisy and the sort of almost documentary style of shooting, I feel like probably finding the right editor was also super important. How do you know what questions to ask when you're meeting editors?
That's such a good question. Okay, I feel like I went through this thing where in making the feature where I was like meeting with all these department heads and I'm like, I don't even know
Yeah.
what we should be talking about.
I'm
I'm
like
like
trying to catch a vibe, but also
exactly. I'm like, I guess something else that I like learned through the process was like you can talk to the people that they worked with before. I
Yeah.
don't know
Yeah.
why it didn't like occur to me that I was like, oh, I can talk to the directors that you've worked with. I mean, just like any job interview that you would like
Like a
get
reference,
reference. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. But for some reason, it it didn't cross my
Mhm.
mind, and so I think in terms of asking like what questions to ask, I think that I think we went back and forth on like reference it like our
Yeah.
even just like taste, like I think that's really important. I
Totally.
asked like what some of her favorite movies were,
Mhm.
and or my editor Stefania, who's amazing, and that relationship is almost that's the person that you ultimately end up spending the most time with,
Yes.
because it's like they're on for the
Mhm.
longest and you're in. It's like we were
You're in the editing cave together.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But also with indie film, I feel like at the level that we were making the film at, I think the most difficult role to fill was the editor.
Yeah, because I've spoken with editors who are like the earlier you can bring on an editor in the process, the better, but the budget doesn't always afford for that.
Yeah.
So I know that you Stefania, right?
Yes, Stefania.
Stefania actually edited a film I saw last year, Tendaberry.
Tendaberry.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
which has some like the meandering doc style of it. I think shared some DNA with like how this film is edited a bit,
Yeah.
in a way that I really loved. And I I guess what I'm wondering is when your goal is I want to submit to Sundance, just and you're trying to finish something. Like, how did you were you guys scrambling? I feel like every filmmaker I talk to is scrambling right before a deadline.
It's
Yeah.
always everyone's always scrambling to submit to Sundance. Everyone's always shooting August and
Yep.
then like giving themselves like 2 or 3 weeks to edit a rough cut for Sundance, which was exactly what we did. We wrapped like last week of August. I got literally the day after we wrapped, I got COVID.
Oh my God.
So I was out for a week. We were supposed to start the edit like 2 days after we wrapped
At least you
on
didn't
a Monday.
have it during filming.
Yeah, thank God. I mean, your body knows. I feel like it held out. It was like, okay, we can get
We have to
sick
get through this
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then so I was like down with COVID for a week, and then the next week we started editing, and I think we had about like 3 weeks maybe to get an edit together, and we did I think like a couple, I think we did like 14 days in a row or something, and then we were able to slow down and take our time with it. It was definitely a sprint to get the cut ready for Sundance.
And do you watching yourself in the edit, is that something you're used to at this point, like when you got to the feature, or was that difficult for you?
Yeah, okay, the only thing the only thing that was difficult for me to watch was like the sex scene.
Yeah. Yep.
That I actually, it's so funny. I was like, I don't think we need it. I think like we didn't have an assembly of the sex scene until I think the first cut didn't include it.
Wow.
Because I was like, I don't want to watch this.
Yep.
That is the only thing that I feel like I had some sort of like self-consciousness or vanity around. I think because I had made the shorts before, like acted and directed in shorts before, and those shorts I edited myself.
Oh, cool.
So I was used to seeing
Totally.
I think for this one, I was able to separate myself from or just maybe like put away my vanity and just really think about like it doesn't actually matter at all what I look like. Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's not helpful. Like
especially when you're scrambling to put this thing,
Yeah, there's just which is something that I love about like that's something that I love is that there's no room. Yeah, there's no room for vanity, and it doesn't allow the timing just doesn't allow for it. But but then I also after we wrapped, I dyed my hair to this like it's like basically the same color as my normal hair color, but I dyed it like a little bit lighter, like a little bit red, a little bit like reddish brown. And
did you have to do reshoots?
No, we didn't. Thank God. Yeah, I'm like I don't know how we would have done reshoots, but I think in my mind I was like that separate. There was like a little bit of like separation between. I'm
Kat, and this is
Rebecca.
Yeah,
exactly.
I love that.
Rebecca's black hair. I have red brown hair.
Yes, exactly. A big question that our listeners are always asking us is like, okay, I made my thing, or I want to make my thing. How do I get it in front of financiers or producers? Like, was that something you had any experience with prior to making this?
Not at all. Not at all. And I have to give basically all credit to my manager, Anna. And also Rachel. She was like hugely, she's a producer. Yeah. She was so instrumental, obviously, in like opening so many doors and making so many connections. And, but my manager, Anna, really like, kicked us off with, she just set up all these meetings with different financiers and producers. And she, I mean, like she should have had like an EP credit or something, like a producer credit. She connected me with so many people, and it was sort of like a year of me redrafting the script as I was taking meetings and sort of, like obviously incorporating notes that I would get from the meetings. And that process is very like Sisyphean. It's like
pushing
Sisyphus.
the boulder.
Yeah, exactly. Pushing the boulder up the hill.
Yeah. You're like, where's the top of the hill?
Exactly. And it sort of is like everybody, this is what it is. Everybody's like, we love it. We love it. we want to make it, but
Oh no.
we can't. And like, but they won't tell you for like months or whatever, you know, like they'll be like,
Mhm.
maybe like we'll get back to you, like this person needs to read it and then we'll get back to you and have a real answer. And then it'll be like, oh, the one more person needs to read it and we'll get back to you
Wow.
with an answer. And it's really
It's a long
it's
process.
a long
Yeah.
process. But I also think it's sort of like finding it's like you only need one. It's like a relationship. It's like
Yeah,
you
yeah.
only or not actually, they were like 15 different financiers
You're like, we're in
ultimately.
a big love situation.
Yes, exactly. But you need one.
For others to invest?
Yeah, exactly. You need a
Okay.
cosign.
Yeah.
And for us that was Neon Heart Productions, who
Okay, we love you, Neon Heart. Yeah.
shout out Neon Heart, Rhiannon and Tristan. I was introduced to them by Rachel, who they had
Mhm.
worked with on Shiva Baby. So
Okay, amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
they finance Shiva Baby and they concentrate on like first time female filmmakers.
That's so cool. I love
Yeah.
that.
No, I mean, amazing.
Yeah.
But they came on for the first chunk of financing, and from there it's, you know,
Yeah.
it becomes so much easier to get people to
That's so great.
come in.
Yeah. I mean, that in itself is such a feat. And then on the other side of the festival circuit, it's like, okay, distribution. Like, we've done this thing. We got into like the one of the premier festivals.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I feel like distribution for me, I was so I mean, obviously, it was my first feature. I
Yeah.
was so green. I knew nothing about distribution or what the process would be like. But it's funny because I feel like heading into Sundance, it's like the myth or the dream or the whatever is that there's like a bidding war till
Yes.
whatever 6
Uh-huh.
a.m. and you get bought for $10 million or like
Yeah.
whatever millions of dollars. And that didn't happen. And I think it was like a bit of a like I felt like a little bit disillusioned.
Yeah.
And but ultimately I think we found like really the perfect home in Utopia, who's
Mhm.
distributing, who also obviously did Shiva Baby. Like it
Yeah.
feels like they were supporters very early on. So like in
Cool.
pre-production they came on as our international sales agents.
I love that.
So they
Yeah.
believed in the project from day one, and I feel like it's like made so much sense
Yeah.
for them to distribute. And ultimately I'm so happy with how
How
things
cool.
have turned out. But yeah.
Yeah. When you were mentioning your premiere here in LA, I was thinking about that part of sharing it with people who haven't seen it before or saw an early cut or whatever. And then now it's going to go out to a really wide audience. What are you hoping people take away from the film? Yeah, I'm sure many things, but
Be
yeah.
online less. Be online less and
Ah,
be with your friends more. No, I mean,
yeah,
I don't know.
no, yeah.
But I mean, ultimately, kind of yes. Like I do
Mm-hmm.
think like the film is very much if you're like Gen Z millennial, like you grew up
Mm-hmm.
on the internet,
Yeah,
and I feel like I really like retreated into these digital worlds when I was younger, and I
yeah.
think like they were useful up to a point, but I think
Mm-hmm.
they were also a way of like protecting myself from actually experiencing real emotions and had the friction that comes with having real life relationships. And I
Yeah,
think that is the real life relationships are irreplaceable, and they
yeah.
are, even though they come with this like they can be uncomfortable and they come with friction and they come with inconveniences. It's like you they're it's everything.
It's
They're
very
everything.
valuable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your character, Rebecca, often, like, she's like, I gotta go. I gotta leave. I can't be
Yeah,
here.
and I'm still that way. I'm so like I am queen of Irish exiting. Like I will
Oh, me
never
too.
I will show up at a place for 15 minutes and then leave without saying goodbye to anybody. Like it's really bad. And so and
Yeah.
that's why like it's like I tell myself, it's like the movie's like a reminder to myself, like
Yeah.
be present in your life with your friends who are like
Yeah.
real. And another thing that I thought about a lot in the making of the film, or the process of making the film, and I said this in my like intro at Sundance, the process of making the film ultimately was sort of like was an exercise in giving myself permission. Like
Yeah. Giving yourself permission to, like, go there or
yeah, like
yeah.
giving yourself permission to, I think like oftentimes in my life I felt sort of like shame around like being too like being gross or like being too much or being not enough of something for not this or that, or the film became an exercise in giving myself permission to be anything, like whatever it was that I
That's
am,
awesome.
you know?
Yeah.
And so I feel like it would be amazing if people watched the film and sort of like came away feeling a little bit of that sense of permission to be what the fuck ever
Yeah.
it is that they are,
And have the
because
confidence in that.
yeah, exactly.
Or ownership. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think so much of the time I'm like, people are just, you're waiting for someone else to be like, it's okay for you to like that thing that you really deeply
Yeah.
love. I think I grew up, I was really like, there was a period in my life when I was younger, I was like painfully shy, like really, really shy. And I feel like even now, sometimes I get self-conscious about the fact that like I can become kind of like soft-spoken when I'm in certain situations. And I think, um, it's just like giving yourself permission to, that's who I am. And like, and just letting myself be that way, as opposed to trying to be like super gregarious and whatever and chatty when I don't. That
feel
doesn't
like
feel,
that's natural.
yeah, which is says so simple. It sounds like really like,
It is, but it's also like, sorry to interrupt you.
no, please, this is like a dialogue.
But what you're saying about growing up with the internet was something I wanted to talk to you about. I think growing up with Zynga and then MySpace and then Facebook and then Instagram and having so many ideas as your brain is forming thrown at you about like what you can be, which is like, that's like the positive version, and then all the things that like you are not. And that is a really interesting and difficult thing to navigate, because you're just inundated with all these different versions of yourself that you could be, and presenting yourself to others and how that's perceived can totally change you when you're like a teenager.
Completely.
To be like, oh, okay, like that's weird that I do that, and I'm not going to do that anymore.
Exactly. I didn't know that I wasn't supposed to be that, or that I wasn't supposed to do that. I didn't
or that
know
people
that
would have a reaction to that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, the film, like, she's a cam girl. There's an online element, and there's these interactions with people behind usernames. Like, she has a relationship that turns, I think it's described in the logline as toxic, with one of her clients. And I was so intrigued and scared for her. And there was just so many really juicy layers to that story, and also to the story with her father, and like juxtaposition of those two things. But making internet friends is such like something that is like our generation.
Totally. Yes.
And I'm curious, like, was that just like, oh, well, this is my life, so this is going in the script? Or were you conscious of being like, the internet is a role in this story in a way?
I do feel like I was just writing what I knew.
Sure.
Yeah. I do feel like, I don't think it was sort of like, I want to
make this commentary on.
Yeah, exactly. Or at least it wasn't conscious. Like,
Sure.
I feel like it wasn't sort of
hit on the nose.
Yeah.
Is that right? Over, like, where it was like, this is about this.
Yes. A lot of, again, like, as a millennial Gen Z, a lot of the way that you discover things about sex and sexuality is through the internet.
Yeah.
And that's such an interesting new thing. How does that change your relationship to sexuality when so much of your formative experiences with it are through a screen?
Often before you've ever had any of your own experiences.
Exactly. Yeah.
How sexuality, which is honestly like, it's human to human, it's so intimate, and it's like often very private, like certain elements of it, but then that is put on the internet. And when you're experiencing it as a young person, the first time I ever saw like porn or something, I was like, oh my God, this is so different from like anything I expected it to be. And that is so influential.
And you're removing like the whole, you're just like, you're separate. It's flat. It's so flattened. It's so flattened in this way that I think is really interesting. And also, like, on top of that, I was really interested in like digital personas and the personas that we create online. And like, on one end of the spectrum you have like a cam girl, and then on the other end of the spectrum you have everybody who has an Instagram account.
Yeah.
And I think that was something that I wanted to explore, how like the reality of the this the reality is obviously different than the persona that you're crafting online, no matter how like authentic you are trying to be, or how authentic your persona is. It's still constructed, and it's still
adding a layer.
and so that's something that I wanted to explore, and how expectation, when expectation meets reality, like when I guess
Yeah.
I guess I won't
I mean,
say
this will
anything.
come out after the movie, so it's up to you.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. No, I won't say it. I won't
Yeah.
say it.
Well, okay, speaking of expectation versus reality, I think there's two very distinct relationships. The one we mentioned with the Rebecca's client, and then there's also the one with her father. And both of these required so much vulnerability from everyone involved. And
Yeah.
like I'm now blanking.
Perry?
Perry.
Yeah,
Perry.
yeah,
I was
yeah.
like Perry. No. How did you go about casting him? And I was so moved by your scenes together, and the way that there's not always a ton said, but there's so much said.
Yeah.
And so you having to find the right chemistry, I feel like that is such a linchpin to making this work.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, it's so funny. I was just talking about how like this casting process was really fun, because I feel like everybody came through sort of like a different channel. Like obviously Rachel,
Is
we've
your
been
friend,
like dear friends since college.
And that comes across on screen in a beautiful way.
Thank you. And then Austin came to us through our like casting directors, Kate Antonini and Charlotte Arnault, who are
He's
amazing.
wonderful. Yeah.
He's like one of my he's so amazing.
Yeah.
Jack Kilmer came to us through an associate producer who actually she's Ruby McCollister, who is an actress herself, and she's in the movie, and she's amazing, and we share a manager, and so that's how we got connected. And then Ruby and Jack have been like friends forever, and so she was like, I think Jack was.
This is like a great group dinner.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And so Perry came through a financier who ultimately didn't end up coming on, but he was really supportive, and he said, when I read this, I immediately like, you have to cast Perry Young. He's amazing. And I had never seen Perry before, but I Googled him. The first picture I saw, I was like, I have to cast him. He's fit the role so perfect. Like his look was so good. And then I met him, and he was it's so funny because he's the exact opposite of Will. He really is like the most supportive, loving father, like accepting. Like I tell him like his kids are so lucky to have him as a dad, but he just responded really well to the script. And we met in person, and he was really just so lovely. And I felt like he was just so willing to. He was the only actor who was local to New York. So Austin's from lives in Austin, Texas. Like Jack and Rachel flew in from LA. So he's the only person who I had an extended period of rehearsal time with.
Okay, I was going to ask about that. Yeah.
Yeah, he was so generous with his time, and he really like, we would go sit in the park that we filmed in together and like rehearse the scenes on a bench, and he he does a lot of TV acting, and I think for this I really want it to be like a very quiet, sort of naturalistic performance that is sometimes like at odds with a like TV
or the pace of a TV schedule.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so he really worked with me on that. He just really obviously, wanted to help serve my vision, and he was really just so amazing.
Did you find it easy, or were there any challenges to giving notes to people who were in the scene with you?
Yes and no. I think it's like, a lot of actor directors always talk about how you sort of direct from within the scene. So like you sort of calibrate your performance to get the sort of performance that you want out of the person acting opposite you. At the same time, there were definitely moments where it became sort of where it took me out of my performance, because I mean, all the actors are amazing, but there were times where maybe I wanted something really, really specific, and we weren't getting to that place, and we were doing it like over and over again, and
Mhm.
by the end I would just not be able to be, I would just be
Sure.
so, I would just be like looking at them like as Katarina, like, okay,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know. Yeah.
Totally.
Um
And you're not really doing I mean, this is the way it came across. Like, you're not doing necessarily traditional coverage. You're like racking focus from one person to the next. So it's not like you're cutting away, which
yes.
is, yeah. So you want to get it all in that take.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's such a unique challenge. It's really interesting. Okay. So being aware of time, I want to talk about Bunny. This is called
The
Bunnylovr.
bunny.
Where did the concept of that present come from? And how was the bunny as a co-star?
The bunny as a co-star was
Or bunnies?
ultimately,
Yeah.
yes, yes, it's like babies when when you work with like babies on set, it's like you try, sometimes I feel like you use like twins or
Totally.
something, and
Yeah.
that was the same with the bunny. There were multiple bunnies.
Mm-hmm.
There was a steep learning curve, I will say. Like,
Mm.
I think at first, it's bunnies are a prey animal. They're very skittish and they want to sort of hide, yeah.
Yeah.
And so
They're not like, look at me on the camera.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, what animal does do that? I don't know. By the end, we got to a place where like I would just hold, like, first the animal handler would like
Yeah.
hand me the bunny. I would hold the bunny against my chest for like a
Mm.
couple minutes or something until its heart rate had slowed,
Yeah.
because you could like feel it, and then also the sound person could hear it because I was like
Right
because the
by
bunny was like
your
right up
love.
on
Yeah.
like on top of the lava, and and then like I would sort of like lie down with the bunny on top, or like place the
Mm-hmm.
bunny, um and by the end, I'm not just saying this, that animal handlers were like, we've never seen someone who like works so well with the bunnies
Oh,
before, and so
what a compliment.
yeah,
Yeah.
we really got to a good place by the end.
Do you own a bunny?
No, I think I am like, the place where Rebecca's character and I really intersect is that I do not think I could own a pet, especially right now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, in the future.
In the
In the
future. In
future.
the
Yeah.
future. Whenever I see an animal on screen, like, maybe I'll cut this, but this was my bone to pick with Marty Supreme. I was like, what are you doing to the dog? You know,
Yes.
I was
Wait, I forget what happens to the dog. Does the
that
dog
they
get
leave
shot?
the dog
Oh.
at like a gas station and it explodes. And I'm just like so scared.
Yeah, but then the dog comes running out.
Yes.
Yes.
But then they like are feeding the dog like alcohol. I was just
Yeah, yeah,
really
yeah.
stressed out about the dog.
Animal cruelty.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think the bunny served as a really interesting tool for storytelling here, because your character Rebecca is asked to, it's a gift, and asked to take care of this animal that she doesn't think she can take care of, and then has so much care and concern for this animal. And I feel like that I was able to mark Rebecca's transition and like kind of arc with that moment in the, like, as a turning point.
Totally.
I found myself really thinking about with that how we sometimes put ourselves in situations where we know that we're likely to feel pain or shame or
Yeah.
guilt. And this film explores a lot of things that are so relatable, like loneliness. And I think that's something really hard to capture on screen, and even hard to like maybe capture on the page. So I guess my question is like, was the bunny always part of the story, and did you see it as like a metaphor for that?
Totally. I mean, I think when I feel like my writing process is so like um not it's like so stream of consciousness, like I'm not aware of anything that I'm doing until I'm like doing a
Yep,
podcast and
yep, yep,
someone is
yep,
like,
yep.
this is what you did in the movie, and I'm like, oh yeah, that is
You're
what I
like,
did in
yeah,
the
totally. It
movie.
was my plan all along.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I think that like the bunny was a part of the movie from pretty early on, and I think like, it's like you said, it serves as a metaphor sort of for the main character and sort of the way that she's able to learn how to take care of herself. But I also think a part of it was, I mean, I guess this goes hand in hand with what we're saying, but I think the way that someone treats animals, especially when they're alone with an animal, is so telling of a person's character, and I mean, it just says so much
Yep.
about the
Yep.
person because an animal can't defend itself really, or like especially
Yeah.
a bunny in particular, like it can't defend itself, and it
Mhm.
can't, if you mistreat it, it's not going to tell anybody, you know, like
Yeah.
there's like, even if you like kick it once, it's like it's
Yeah.
not, no one will ever know. And so
Mhm.
I feel like that was really just a way of showing character without being like, and now I've learned, like her
Yes.
saying to someone, I've learned how to love myself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. 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 She says something in the movie that I was like, oh, I've totally said this, where she's like, well, sometimes I pretend my friend is coming over, so I'll like clean up or brush my teeth or do whatever. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
we all have our systems.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the same thing of like, what's the principle of like if you're working, co-working, where it's like if you're in a
Body doubling, right?
body
Yeah.
doubling. Yes,
Mhm.
exactly.
Yeah. It's a game changer.
Yeah.
Okay, I have like probably 50 more questions, but I know we're running out of time. So I'd love to pivot to our hot takes or our lukewarm takes or our cold takes, you know? Do you want to kick us off?
Okay, my hot take is do not say shit to me about a movie ever. Like, I don't want to know anything about any movie. I don't want to know if you thought it was good or bad. If you thought that, I don't want to know the title even. I'd want no context for a movie going into it. I don't want to watch a trailer. I don't want to hear a peep from anyone about the movie. It's
Mm.
like, I think it's like we all need to stop asking our friends like what they thought of the movie and then deciding based off of that whether or not we go see the movie. And even if you're not consciously asking to decide, it does
Affect your
affect.
opinion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I think
Mhm.
if your friend is like, oh, that movie was shit, I don't think it's like
Yeah. Yeah.
XYZ, you're probably not going to make it a priority to see that movie. So I'm sort of just like, don't,
Yeah.
don't, I'm not going to ask, and don't tell me anything about the
Mhm.
movie. I'll go see it and decide for myself. And
Yeah.
so that's my hot take.
I totally agree. I love that because I'm like, also trailers, I'm like, there's too much of the movie in the trailer. I don't want to know. Like,
Yes,
yeah.
also it sets it, I think like, I mean, it's a double-edged sword, but expectations, I feel like often set you up sort of for failure, where it's like,
Yeah.
I
I thought it was going to be this.
exactly, yeah, like,
Mhm.
oh, this was the most like awarded film at Cannes, and then I go and there's all this hype, and then I go see it, and I was like, yeah, that was a great movie, but
Yep. Yep.
because I there was all this hype, then I'm
Mhm.
disappointed.
No, totally.
Yeah.
I I have really enjoyed going in blind. Like I've been doing it on purpose lately. And or a friend is like, actually, this was when Thelma came out,
Mm.
and my friend was like, "Do you want to go see this movie?" And I was like, "I don't know what that is." And I was like, "Actually, I think this is going to be a good experiment." And I had such a good time, and I was not. I was just, it was a totally new experience. It was like sticking your hand in one of those boxes for Halloween and being like, is this grapes? You know?
Totally.
And it was really, really cool. Okay. My hot take this week, I am very into like astrology and whatnot, but I think I had this moment of like shooting your shot and putting yourself out there. And I do think I'm very influenced by talking to filmmakers like you who have done the vulnerable thing. And it's always scary to make a movie, but like you're in front of the camera, you're behind the camera, it's your words. And I think that is so iconic and like really fucking cool. And I had a moment, I've mostly been writing for the last couple of years and or like 8 years, and I had put acting on hold, and I had a role come up that a writer friend, it was like part of the show, and was like, can I put it on tape? And I was so scared because I was
Yeah.
like, what are you going to think of me for asking this to what we've been talking about?
Totally.
You know, like, is this presumptuous of me? Is this like, I don't know how you viewed this character. Am I totally wrong for it? Am I, and I had all of these thoughts before I even asked the question. And then I did it, and I was so proud of my work. And I was like, wait, this is the whole point, is like, I'm doing this to be creative and because I love doing this stuff. And like, whatever the outcome is, I have no control over it, but you got to just try.
Totally. I
Yeah.
mean, that's amazing. And also, you said it's like it's your friend.
Yeah.
I think that can be really difficult too. If
That
it's
is,
like
yes.
you're like, oh, like I don't want you to think that I'm sort of like taking advantage of like our relationship,
Yes.
or like, or even like that it's not even. It doesn't even necessarily need to be like taking advantage of the relationship, but it's like
that I expect anything.
exactly. Yes, exactly.
Like, okay, because I put this on tape now, are you going to think that I expect you to cast me?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's scary and it's hard, but I'm like, I feel really proud. And I
You
think
should-
my hot take is like, fucking go for it.
Shoot your shot.
Yeah.
Shoot your shot.
Yeah.
That's a great take.
Okay. So where can people see Bunnylovr? Where can they follow you? Tell everybody, tell the people.
Yes. Bunnylovr in theaters April 10th. It's opening in New York at the Quad and in LA at the New Art. And you can find me at Katarina.Zhu on Instagram.
Hell yeah. You can follow the podcast at Daddy Dailies Pod, NYD Films. We're on Instagram and TikTok. I'm at Vika Stubbs, but I will tell you now, it's mostly my cats. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank
This
you
has
so
been so
much.
fun.
This was lovely.
Yay. We did it.
Daddy Dailies is a production of Not Your Daddy's Films, a social impact organization dedicated to educating and empowering women and non-binary creatives in TV and film. If you like what you heard today, click subscribe and leave us a positive review. If you want more Daddy episode insights and to be the first to know about in-person events, follow Daddy Dailies Pod and NYD Films on Instagram and TikTok. Daddy Dailies is edited by Vika Stubblebine and Carly Tamarin. See you next time, Daddy.